Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into the life of a true music legend, Ludwig van Beethoven. He was a man who changed music forever, who composed some of the world's greatest masterpieces, while completely deaf. This is the story of a genius who turned struggle into sound and pain into beauty. So stay with us through this incredible journey. And if you love music, inspiration, or amazing real-life stories. Beethoven was born in Bonn, Germany, in December 1770. His father, Johann, was a musician and singer who worked in the court chapel. Johann recognized his son's talent early on and became determined to turn Ludwig into the next Mozart. However, Johann's methods were often harsh. He forced Beethoven to practice for long hours, waking him up at night to play for guests. Despite the difficult upbringing, young Beethoven showed remarkable talent. He gave his first public performance at just 7 years old, and by the time he was a teenager, he was already composing music. His early piano and violin lessons gave him a strong foundation, and his exceptional memory allowed him to play complex pieces after hearing them only once. Beethoven's childhood was marked by poverty, family struggles, and a sense of duty. After his father's alcoholism deepened, Ludwig took on the role of caretaker for his younger siblings. These early responsibilities shaped his strong, sometimes stubborn personality. In 1792, Beethoven moved to Vienna, which at the time was considered the heart of European music. There, he studied under the famous composer Joseph Haydn and later took lessons from other prominent musicians such as Johann Georg Albrechtsberger and Antonio Salieri. Vienna welcomed Beethoven with open arms. He quickly made a name for himself as a virtuoso pianist known for his emotional and dramatic performances. Unlike many musicians of his time, Beethoven was fiercely independent. He refused to be a servant to any royal court and instead made a living through public concerts, music publishing, and the support of wealthy patrons. He was admired for his boldness, both in life and music. His early compositions, like the piano trios and piano sonatas, already showed signs of his unique voice, mixing classical structure with intense emotion. Beethoven's music stood out because it spoke directly to the listener's emotions. His works were more than just beautiful, they were personal and powerful. He used music as a language to express things that words couldn't. In his early piano sonatas, like the Pathetic and Moonlight Sonatas, Beethoven explored themes of heartbreak, longing, and determination. These pieces quickly became popular and remain staples of the piano repertoire today. His compositions didn't just follow the rules of classical music, they pushed boundaries. Beethoven wasn't afraid to experiment with rhythm, harmony, and form. Each piece he wrote felt like a journey, one that took the listener through storms and sunlight, through despair and joy. Around the age of 28, Beethoven began to notice a ringing in his ears, a condition known as tinnitus. As time passed, his hearing grew worse. By the time he was in his mid-30s, he was experiencing severe hearing loss. At first, he kept this a secret. For a musician, hearing is everything. He feared that if people knew, his career would be over. The emotional toll was immense. He became depressed and withdrew from society. In 1802, Beethoven wrote a letter to his brothers, now known as the Heiligenstadt Testament. In it, he expressed his despair and admitted that he had even thought about ending his life. But he chose to live, for the sake of his art. He wrote, "It seemed to me impossible to leave the world until I had brought forth all that I felt was within me." Beethoven's deafness grew worse, but so did his determination. He stopped performing in public, but he continued to compose. His inner world became louder than the silence around him. He developed ways to work around his condition. He would place a wooden stick between his teeth and touch it to the piano, feeling the vibrations. He used sketchbooks to jot down ideas and refine them meticulously. Some of his most powerful music came during this period. He poured his soul into every note, every rest, every crescendo. Music became both his weapon and his comfort. Imagine composing music you can't even hear. That's what Beethoven did. He relied on his memory, his training, and his imagination. He knew how instruments sounded, how harmonies worked. He could hear music in his mind without actually hearing it. It's as if he developed a sixth sense for sound. This is what makes Beethoven's story so amazing. Despite losing his hearing, he composed symphonies, sonatas, quartets, and concertos that are now considered some of the greatest works in music history. DUM. Those four notes are among the most famous in all of music. Symphony No. 5, composed between 1804 and 1808, begins with this iconic motif. Beethoven described it as fate knocking at the door. The symphony is a battle cry against adversity. It starts in a minor key and ends in triumph. It mirrors Beethoven's life, a struggle followed by victory. Audiences were stunned. They had never heard anything so dramatic, so emotionally raw. Symphony No. 5 showed the world that music could be a powerful form of storytelling. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, completed in 1824, was a bold and revolutionary work. It was the first symphony to include vocal soloists and a full chorus. The final movement features Friedrich Schiller's poem, Ode to Joy, a celebration of universal brotherhood, peace, and joy. It's a message of hope that resonates even today. When the symphony premiered, Beethoven stood on stage to conduct. But he couldn't hear the applause. One of the performers had to turn him around so he could see the audience's thunderous standing ovation. It was a moment of triumph, a deaf man creating music that moved the world. Beethoven was complex. He was passionate, stubborn, and fiercely independent. He could be difficult to work with and often had falling outs with friends and patrons. He never married, though he fell in love several times. Some letters he wrote to an immortal beloved remain a mystery. No one knows for sure who the woman was. His health was poor, and he moved frequently, often living in cluttered and chaotic conditions. But through it all, music remained his constant companion. Beethoven died on March 26, 1827, at the age of 56. His funeral in Vienna was attended by over 20,000 people, a sign of how deeply loved and respected he was. He left behind an enormous body of work: 9 symphonies, 32 piano sonatas, 16 string quartets, 5 piano concertos, 1 opera, Fidelio. His influence on music is impossible to overstate. He paved the way for the Romantic era and inspired countless composers, including Brahms, Wagner, and Mahler. Today, Beethoven's music is everywhere. His works are performed in concert halls, featured in films and commercials, and taught in music schools around the world. Ode to Joy is used as the anthem of the European Union. Für Elise is one of the most recognized piano pieces ever written. Even people who know nothing about classical music recognize the opening notes of Symphony No. 5. Beethoven's influence can be seen in genres far beyond classical. Rock musicians, jazz artists, and film composers have all cited him as an inspiration. Beethoven's story is about more than music. It's about courage, resilience, and the power of the human spirit. He showed us that creativity doesn't depend on perfection. It comes from passion. He faced rejection, illness, heartbreak, and deafness, but he never gave up. His life reminds us that even when the world goes quiet, our inner voice can still sing. Beethoven was known to pour cold water over his head to stay awake while composing. He loved nature and often went on long walks in the countryside. He was terrible at managing money and frequently argued with his publishers. He once smashed a chair when a guest spoke during one of his performances. His handwriting was almost unreadable, and his sketches were full of scribbles and corrections. He was a coffee enthusiast and insisted on exactly 60 beans per cup. He composed some of his music on paper while lying in bed because of illness. Beethoven lost many hearing aids in rivers and parks because he was always experimenting. If you're new to Beethoven's music, here are a few great places to start. Moonlight Sonata, soft, emotional, and full of longing. Symphony No. 5, powerful and dramatic. Ode to Joy, joyful and uplifting. Für Elise, playful and instantly recognizable. Appassionata Sonata, intense and passionate. Egmont Overture, heroic and cinematic. Violin Concerto in D major, graceful and profound. Let his music wash over you. You don't need to understand music theory. Just listen with your heart. Beethoven once said, "What I have in my heart must come out. That's the reason why I compose." Even when the world went silent, he never stopped creating beauty. So what do you think of Beethoven's incredible journey? Share your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you felt inspired. And subscribe for more stories about the world's greatest artists. Thanks for watching, and remember, no matter how hard life gets, your passion can still shine through.